Hello YouTube. If you couldn't already tell, I just got back from watching Marvel's newest cinematic movie, The Thunderbolts. And man, do I have a lot to say. As of right now, Marvel has kind of gone to shit with most of its mainline entries, some being Thor Love and Thunder, The Marvels, Captain America Brave New World. So going into this movie, I was not only hoping it was going to be a watchable MCU movie, but at the same time be a good one. And man, they did not disappoint. The story, absolutely amazing. The humor is actually funny and is not shoved down your throat every single scene. And oh my god, oh, the characters are so fucking good. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. I'm giving my full thoughts on this movie, being the good and the bad, which, trust me, there is not a lot of bad. But before I go any further, spoiler warning for The Thunderbolts. If you haven't seen it or plan on watching it at some point, click off the video now, but come back because this video is worth a watch. With all that being said, let's dive in. For me, this is definitely the most important and best parts of the movie, and that's gonna be its damn amazing characters. I want to mention this real quick, but I did not do any homework before watching this movie. So, at least for these three characters, this movie was my first impressions of them, and yet somehow I was still able to connect with them, and I believe that's what this movie does great. You don't have to know any of these characters except maybe for Bucky, but I think this movie is able to get you invested into these superheroes and you don't have to do a lick of research. My favorite character in the entire film is definitely Yelena. She has the best moments in the entire movie, hands down, right from the first scene where she basically implies, yeah, I'm not happy, I'm doing all this work because it's so mundane to me and I don't mind dying. You really get a sense of how broken she actually is. And then she starts to grow throughout the film. Even though she's done bad things, she has regrets, and feels unfulfilled, she realizes she doesn't have to go through this all alone. She's forced to also confront her true self, and it's powerful. Another character I think they absolutely nailed is Sentry. Just like Yelena, you see him grow from a wimpy, unsure guy named fucking Bob of all names, to an absolute demon becoming the Void. I think Louis Pullman did an incredible job playing two characters in one film. Honestly, if Yelena wasn't in the movie, Sentry would have been my favorite. And of course, I saved this last one because, I mean, who wouldn't? And that's the Red Guardian.
For the glory.
He's obviously the comic relief character in the movie, and he plays the role perfectly. He's funny when he needs to be, serious when the moment calls for it, and I really love how he still wants to be a dad to Yelena, but at the same time, he wants to be a superhero because to him, saving people is what made his life fulfilling. The theme of this movie is not only really powerful, but it's extremely important. But I won't lie, the MCU smacks you in the face whenever they get the chance to talk about it or when they're trying to imply it. And you know what? It's not a bad thing. I think they pushed it just enough that we fully understand what they're trying to say, but at the same time not feel annoyed or forced by it. And what's the theme, you may ask? Mental health. You see it with all the characters, everyone is struggling with something. Whether it's how people perceive you and the image you want to present to the world, feeling unfulfilled and regretting the choices that led you to where you are now, being haunted by the past trauma that feels impossible to outrun, or just desperately trying to relive the glory days. It's all there. I could name more, but I think you guys get the point. I also really liked how almost all the characters face death as if it's freeing. I only mean this in the context of the film. It adds serious depth to the characters and gives them room to grow, and we get to see the growth play out in a meaningful way. As for my gripes with the movie, there really aren't many. It's more just nitpicky stuff that I just saw and not a big fan of. And I think the first thing I really need to talk about is the dialogue for Val. It is atrocious. Now, don't get me wrong, her motivations using people to avoid impeachment and building her own squad of super soldiers to flex her power is actually really solid, and I'm extremely interested to see where she takes this. But the way she delivers her lines, kind of cringy. When she tries to act menacing, it honestly reminds me of the dialogue from Madame Web. And when she's explaining very important stuff, it just doesn't come off as impactful or intimidating as it should. Then there's the Void. Okay, hear me out. I think what they did with him was mostly great. His appearance was terrifying, his powers were insane, and the way he carried himself gave me actual goosebumps. I'm not kidding. But of course, they have to tone him down so the Thunderbolts can win. Was I super mad about it? Not really. Mainly because we've seen it before, like in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Kang was supposed to be the next Thanos, and Marvel toned him down so Ant-Man could beat him. Ant-Man! The guy who does card tricks! And that's my issue with Marvel sometimes. When they tone down their villains, the final battle doesn't feel earned. It lacks weight. That said, would I change the Void in this movie? Honestly, no. I know that sounds very contradictory, but the Void was so good here that I don't think any other villain could have pulled it off. So yeah, it's not something that drops the movie down to like a 5 out of 10 or anything. I'm just not the biggest fan of that one creative choice. I'm going to keep this brief, but the end credit scene was so freaking good. And I'm not talking about the wheat one. Though, at the same time, it kind of spoiled the ending. What basically happens is we jump 14 months into the future, and we see that the Thunderbolts are now the new Avengers. People are not taking it well, and Sam Wilson is pressed about it, and he's trying to take the Avengers name from them. Then suddenly, a ship shows up heading towards Earth, and on it, we see the Fantastic Four symbol. Now, this can only mean two things, and I'm being dead serious. If there's a third thing, then I guess I just suck at theories. One, the Fantastic Four defeated Galactus and are here to warn everyone about another threat, probably Dr. Von Doom. Or two, the world got destroyed and they're fleeing to another universe to warn everyone. I'm really leaning towards the latter, but either way, I'm just really happy they're setting up the next phase of the MCU in such a huge and amazing way. Before we get into my final thoughts, I really want to bring this up. Something I feel like a lot of people aren't really talking about when it comes to these more recent MCU films. While I was watching Thunderbolts, I kept on thinking, man, this does not feel like a Marvel movie. And I kept on saying that to myself over and over and over again until it actually hit me. This does not feel like a Marvel movie. Well, not like a more recent one. I've gotten so used to these mediocre, forgettable MCU films that I kind of forgot what a good one felt like. Thunderbolts took me back. It felt like watching Civil War all over again, or Infinity War, or even the first Avengers. You know, the ones where the action is intense, the stakes are real, and most importantly, you actually care about these characters. Here's the wild part. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I didn't do my homework for this movie. I didn't go in knowing every character's backstory or crumb through hours of lore. But by the end, I felt like I knew them like I did with the old Avengers. Thunderbolts gave me the same feeling I had while I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. If Marvel sticks to this kind of formula, tight storytelling, compelling characters, and genuine emotion, they might just find their groove again. So, for my final thoughts on the Thunderbolts, I truly believe this is, if not one of the best movies that Marvel has put out since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I was actually able to get invested in the characters, even though I knew almost nothing about them going in. I love the theme of the movie, and even though it did shove it down my throat almost all the time, it still hit hard and it didn't make it any worse for me. Yeah, Val's lines were extremely cringe for most of the movie, and toning down the main villain for the 100th time is starting to get a little old, but none of it was bad enough to the point where it ruined the movie for me. In fact, this movie genuinely made me feel like I was watching Prime MCU again. Overall, I'm giving Thunderbolts a solid 9 out of 10. But hey, I want to hear your thoughts. Was it good in your eyes or was it bad? Let me know down in the comments. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe. And if you want to see more content like this, check out my channel. But with all that being said, noches.